Do you have a few minutes?
I gotta make some changes in my life.
Do you even realize what your life means?
Morning Cup of Joe, a Missouri S&T podcast using pop culture to destigmatize mental health.
Fake laugh, hiding real pain.
Do not self-destruct.
I didn't ask for this to happen.
Join us in using everyday examples to explain usable techniques to help improve your mental well-being.
Stay a while and listen.
Welcome back, minors. My name is Tracy Kriegel, and I'm a counselor here at Student Wellbeing.
And my name is Amber Johnston, and I'm also a counselor here in Student Wellbeing, and it's time for your Morning Cup of Joe. So, Tracy, this morning I wanted to talk about how our reality is made up by our thoughts and how what we think about things changes our perception and can turn, and in turn, our emotions and our reactions.
Amber, why do I think this is another leap into the ABC model?
Yeah, because I'm kind of like partial to the ABC model. Like, yeah, fair. It could be, or it could be a delve into your act choice point. But we've talked about both of those before.
I know this is one maybe about perceptions.
Absolutely. It could be. It's perceptions in part, but the heart of this episode was we're going to be talking about gratitude.
I'm grabbing my popcorn.
So let's start off with a Star Wars quote that has served as the basis of this podcast. It's one of my favorites. Always remember, your focus determines your reality. And it's by Qui-Gon Jinn.
Nice.
And I actually love this Star Wars quote so much that I had it made into a plaque that is in the wall of my kitchen.
Nice.
And I think it's a great rule to live by. It's kind of served as a foreshadowing of the fall of Anakin Skywalker, and indeed the whole series as a whole. This episode is going to have a few spoilers on the prequels and the original trilogy than we usually do, but we're not going to spoil any of the new series episodes or the most recent trilogy. So if you've never seen the original Star Wars or the prequel trilogies or anything that was produced over 20 years ago, then you might be spoiled. But anything in the last 20 years isn't going to be spoiled.
Kind of consider myself an old Star Wars girl, so.
Well, me too. I grew up with Star Wars. I always joke that Leia's my Disney princess.
Yeah, I remember my mom used to put my hair in those little buns like Leia had, and of course R2-D2, and we had an old R2-D2. He was like life-size R2-D2.
Really?
We did. It was so fun.
Was it a robot or what was it?
So maybe I'm wrong. What is? It's not R2-D2.
Yeah, that is
R2-D2.
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 Yeah.
We had a remote control of him. And he would run circles in the kitchen, like when I was a kid.
That is awesome.
It was so fun. So, yeah.
Wow. I have a coffee press that's R2-D2. I'm such a Star Wars nerd.
We love Star Wars, so Chewbacca. Wah!
Just so you listeners are aware, when we were creating our new intro and outro, Tracy was very much advocating for the Chewbacca yell in the middle of the new intro, just in case you guys needed to know that.
I like Star Wars. We love Star Wars, so.
Yes.
We had lightsabers when I was a kid, and we would fight, and of course, who was going to be the good lightsaber and who was going to be the bad lightsaber. So, we had this, okay, I'm totally diverting, but we used to have an old canoe in the backyard.
Yeah.
And we would use that as our platform to fight on. So who was we would get on the old canoe and
I have the high ground.
we'd fight across it. And we'd knock each other off, and you're down there going Okay, we'll go back to the podcast.
Yeah, slight diversion. What do you think that quote means?
I think it means that how we think about ourselves and how our world determines how we experience it.
Exactly. So if I think I'm a failure and that I can never do anything right, every time I don't succeed at something, I've just verified that in my mind. Realistically, we all fail at times and we all succeed at times.
Yes, but if we determine we're going to fail, we often, more times, are likely to because we feel our efforts are just futile. And even if we put in effort, we feel like, see, I shouldn't have even tried. I'm going to fail anyways. Mm-hmm. Right?
And that can make us not even try for things and overall just underestimate our own abilities. It can also make us fail to see the good things that are happening and the successes we achieve. We end up super focused on what's going wrong in our lives instead of seeing what's going right and what we're overall grateful for.
Right. So in the mental health world, we call this gratitude. And it's actually is a technique to help us become more happier and more content in our lives. So let's talk about the benefits of gratitude. So first of all, gratitude helps us regulate our emotions. So when we shift our focus to the good things in our lives, it makes the not so good things less scary and intimidating.
Right. I think the easiest way to see this is the all or nothing thinking that we typically get in when we're struggling with emotional regulation. Instead of thinking about all the people that like us, we instead think things like, nobody likes me. Instead of thinking about the times we did well on a test, I think I always mess this up, those kind of things. Instead of being able to put things into perspective, we get into this, it's all bad, everything's terrible. We've all had those moods.
Right. It's that tall tale always or never that indicate we have those negative automatic thoughts. So we've talked about, questioning these thoughts and, like 99.9% of the time, they're not true at all. Right. Mm-hmm. And when we question them, they're obviously illogical.
Yeah, that's the whole basis of the ABC model is like looking at those thoughts and saying, hey, does this even make sense? Because most of the time it doesn't. And while that's a great strategy to stop them as they're happening, gratitude can help lessen them or prevent them from happening in the first place. If I'm focused on the people that I care about in my life and the gratitude I feel towards them, I'm less likely to have the thought that nobody likes me.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because then I'm going to be constantly thinking about all the things that they're doing for me, all the things that I appreciate about them, like those kind of things. If I'm practicing gratitude about my math skills, I'm going to be looking for evidence of me doing well, not looking for reasons why I'm going to fail.
Right. And I think that's the second point is that gratitude can help us feel more connected to those around us. And when we're grateful for someone we feel closer to, then we're going to be more connected to them.
Mm-hmm. Well, and on the flip side, feeling appreciated makes us feel closer to the other person as well. So in a way, we aren't just feeling more connected, we are essentially becoming more connected. A large number of relationship conflicts occur because we don't feel valued or appreciated in those relationships. Having that appreciation makes us more likely to want to communicate better and become at communication from a collaborative rather than an adversarial standpoint. You guys have heard me talk about that a lot in the relationship stuff. When we're trying to preserve a relationship, we don't want to be adversaries with that person when we're having a conversation. We want to be the two of us against the problem, not me against you.
Right. And so I think, we want to look at the problem in a relationship as something to be solved rather than a competition to be won or lost. Mm-hmm. We're fighting against the issue rather than the person we care about.
Right. When I did marriage counseling, I used to ask my clients all the time, do you want to be right or do you want to be married?
Good point. Yeah.
Because that's the point. Because we get so hung up on being right and we get so hung up on the idea of winning the argument, we forget what's important, which is preserving and maintaining that relationship.
Right. I hear so many times people want to prove their point.
Yes. Well, and that comes from an innate desire to be seen or heard or validated. And so, yes, it comes from a valid place. But sometimes being validated, we can do that without invalidating the other person.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's good.
So our third point is gratitude can improve our outcomes. When we practice gratitude, it spills into other parts of our lives. When we appreciate something like our good health, we are more likely to take care of it. Like if I'm grateful that, you know, I have, you know, good health, I'm going to be more likely to eat right, exercise, do those kinds of things. And just like appreciating our relationships improves our relationship outcomes, improving our appreciation for our finances or education or anything really can improve how we treat that thing and how much care we put into it. We inherently take care of the things we value.
Right. And when we stop valuing those things, we start treating it carelessly.
Yeah. And that's really how that carelessness happens, is because we stop appreciating what that is. If I value the sweater, then I'm going to hang it up. If I don't value it, I'm going to throw it on the floor and walk on it.
Right.
That's a hard word to say. Similarly.
Practicing
gratitude can decrease the effects of stress on our mind and our body. Everything is a little brighter, a little bit more hopeful. The load that we're carrying, that mental load, isn't quite as heavy, and it helps us not be weighed down by all the little problems in our lives or even big problems in our lives. It makes everything a little bit easier to bear.
Right. And I think gratitude is as the light switch. It's just like a light switch that illuminates the world when things get dark and when they get gloomy.
So things are lighter, everything's a little bit brighter, and I think that was what Qui-Gon Jinn was trying to say here. If we're focused on everything going wrong in our lives, it's going to seem like we're going to be immersed in a world where everything is just bad. It's just nothing's going to be great. Everything's going to be terrible. If our focus is on the things that we have in our life that are going well and we appreciate, we're going to notice more of the positives in our life.
You know, when we look for good and focus on looking for good things, we find them. When we focus on the bad, then that's what we're going to find. We're going to find the bad things. You know, I guess when you think back to the episodes of Star Wars, you know, the individual characters, what were they always looking for?
Well, if you look at Anakin, he was really looking at the bad. Like, he was looking for all the reasons that his relationship with Padme was going to go bad. Like, I mean, he was very, very focused on that. He blamed Obi-Wan for being too close to Padme. Like, he was constantly jealous of their relationship. And that really is what led to his descent into the dark side, was because he was just completely obsessed with this idea of, I'm going to lose her. I'm going to lose this relationship. And ultimately, he lost that relationship because of his obsession with, I'm going to lose this relationship. If he would have just had faith in his relationship with her, it wouldn't have been threatened. Because if you look at that whole situation, how much of that was self-created?
Right.
His jealousy, his anger, his all of that created that conflict. So his focus of that really determined his reality.
Right. So that, you know, I love how you pulled that out, because it's where his focus was. Yeah. And so you relate that into what you're bringing out in this podcast is, where's our focus? Where are we going? And so looking at gratitude, we pull that back into that. Where's our focus? Where are we going? Where are we putting our efforts into?
Right.
Yeah.
And if you, like, when we put our efforts into, like, sometimes because we become so afraid of things, because we're so anxious about something happening, it becomes all we see. Like, one of the examples I like to use this is, I have a really weird car. Like, I do. My car is it's an uncommon color, and it's a make that isn't typically seen super often. And when I bought it, I'd never seen a car like it. But it turned out now I see them everywhere.
Right.
Because I'm looking for them. Because and that's kind of how it was with Anakin. Because he was looking for reasons that his relationship was in trouble, he found reasons why his relationship was in trouble. Was it really in trouble to the extent that he thought it was? No. I mean, there was some stuff there going on. But his mind, because he was looking for all the reasons why this wasn't going to work, he was finding all the reasons why it wasn't going to work.
Right.
Instead of being grateful for the fact that he had a wonderful woman that loved him and was having his children. And yes, they needed to work through what was going on with the Jedi Council and the fact that, get straight with him being a Jedi and figuring all of that out, because he wasn't supposed to have those kinds of relationships. Instead of being focused on that and fixing that problem, he was focused on all the reasons why she was not going to want to be with him, and why she was going to like leave him for Obi-Wan, why he was going to lose that relationship.
Right. So his focus was on the wrong spots. So
Yes.
yes, absolutely. So let's bring that back to, so how do we practice gratitude? So, the obvious one you probably all heard is a gratitude journal.
Yeah.
So, we've all heard that we can write things down that we're grateful for every day. And so if we can start that practice, I think it's a great place to start. So if you start with 3 things each day, 3 things every day, and work up to a list of maybe 10 things each day. That's a great space to start in, right?
Yeah, it absolutely is. Yeah. It sounds cliche because you hear about gratitude journals all the time. Like I challenge anybody who's not heard of a gratitude journal at some point. But they are really great places to start. And sometimes it's really hard. And sometimes when somebody's really struggling, if I have a client that's really struggling with coming up with one, then we'll say, okay, we're going to write down one thing that happened today that I am grateful for. I am grateful that that guy held the door open for me. I am grateful for the person that told me to have a nice day. And we start with that, and then we start adding. The important part is not to be the same thing every day. We don't want that. But we want to every day come up with something. And once we get into starting to look for it, it's that focus determines your reality. When I start focusing on the things I'm grateful for, at first 1 is hard. And then 3, seems unreachable. And then all of a sudden 3 is not that bad, but 10 still seems like too much. But then all of a sudden I'm at 5, and then I'm at 7, and then eventually 10 becomes easy. You don't even think about it.
I love what you're saying about a gratitude journal. So I was at National Conference this year with social workers, and they were passing out these gratitude journals. And it's just phenomenal when you think about creating a template in how to write a gratitude journal. And so I want to share with you how you can create an actual template for yourself that makes a nice way to frame that thought. And so if you want to create a gratitude journal for yourself, because sometimes at the end of the day, you're thinking, well, how do I write this down? So think of it in this form or fashion. Create a subject line. What do you want to be thankful for? Whether it's a person, a pet, an experience, a place, a thing, or a self. So make that your subject line. And then, what am I grateful for? What I feel and why. Today's act of kindness that you did. And then do a positive reflection or your intention. So use those categories. So I'm grateful for what I feel and why, today's act of kindness, something you did that was kind, and a positive intention or reflection of what you're going to do.
Okay.
So it's a great space of when you're writing that piece of gratefulness, it gives you just this nice little template to write it down, because sometimes when you're thinking about it, actually, I'm grateful for my dog. And so if I'm grateful for my dog, think in greater terms of that, what I feel and why. Why am I grateful? What do I feel about my dog? He gives me joy. Why does he give me joy? Because when I come home, he's always there with a big old smile, because my dog smiles. And
her dog, I can confirm, her dog does smile.
And my dog is so funny. My dog actually jumps up on me and hugs me. So I'm telling you a little bit about my dog. So today's act of kindness, what did I do that maybe was in relation to my dog? I spent some extra time with my dog. And so in a personal reflection, positive intentions, maybe my reflection is I'm going to go and take my dog for a walk. So that's the personal reflection. So take that to the next level, find something, so maybe make that journal something, and I use my dog as an example, but make that relevant to your space and your life if you do that. And so if you move that into 3 things, so if you're thinking person, pet, experience, place, thing, self, there's a lot of things that you can add into that. So if you're having a relationship problem, or you're having a test problem, or maybe you're an athlete and you're having, problems on a team with a teammate or something, or, whatever, just make that real life. And then you're going to find things are going to really change for you.
Well, another thing you can do is perform acts of kindness for others. This can be telling people what we appreciate about them, or doing small actions that relay that appreciation. I do this thing that I call it sprinkling glitter, and it's just a me thing. But when I'm out and I see somebody and they have a really nice outfit on, I'll say, "Oh, I love your dress," or if they've got a cool phone case, or I give that, and I call it sprinkling glitter because that's what I'm doing. It's me relaying that kindness to others, and it makes me feel good knowing that I've, even if that person, I've made an attempt to make that person their day a little brighter. And so just the act of doing that and being focused on how am I going to sprinkle glitter today, then it helps you be a little bit happier.
Right, absolutely. And I love how you just said that. That's cool. Like sprinkle glitter. So, and saying thank you, and meaning it. I think that's also something else we can do. It can also be appreciating things about the person that makes your life easier and bringing joy to you. Like appreciating someone's kindness or positivity, in text messages, just liking, sometimes a simple like doesn't go far enough. Just the thank yous, the you're welcomes, the, those positive things, just going a little bit further into that. You're welcome. Thank you. I appreciate those words of kindness, and just putting some more meaning behind those things, because sometimes we get so busy and sometimes we've just used the simple thumbs up.
Yeah. And then sometimes that feels like that can feel a little bit hollow, but just taking a minute and saying, hey, I really appreciate the fact that you're always smiling when I come into the office every morning.
Right.
Or saying something like that. It makes that person feel good, and then it also gives you that moment of appreciation.
Yeah, exactly. And, coworkers or teammates or, the person who's sitting next to you in class, thanks for always being here. I love that you got that smile. Wasn't love, but I appreciate, the kindness that you give, just the presence that you're here, just something, just to uplift them. Sometimes it feels awkward, but sometimes just giving those little accolades to people, really, you never know what that person next to you is going through. So.
And it goes along with that sprinkling glitter.
Yes,
like that's all you're doing is you're sprinkling some glitter out into the world.
And
you know what? Some people it's not going to take, but other people it's absolutely going to take. And it makes your day brighter, it makes their day brighter, and we're just sprinkling it on.
Love it.
We can also work for being more mindful. What is mindfulness besides being appreciating the present moment? Next time you're walking to class, appreciate the beauty of the nature around you. We're on a beautiful campus.
We are.
And there's a lot of nature around here. There's a lot of beautiful flowers, and just take a moment and appreciate them. Smell, like when those hydrangeas get blooming, it smells gorgeous on campus. Stop and smell the flowers. That sounds so cliche, but
kudos to the crew, the grounds crew on this campus. They do a wonderful job. Today they were out, doing some cleanup over at Toomey Hall, and it's like, they work hard, to keep the campus looking good. So I don't know that we ever do enough shout outs to them for all the hard work that they do. So, but if you see the staff that are on campus that are working on the grounds, tell them thank you just for the hard work that they do, for, keeping the flowers going, the grass watered, the grass trimmed, because they do. I think they work really hard to keep the campus looking nice. And those are those things. Those are those thank yous. Those are those things that we're grateful for, because, not every campus that I've gone to looks as phenomenal as our campus does. And so those are those things, the things that we can appreciate. And we do have older buildings on campus. And just the architecture that you can appreciate is taking that time to just say, wow, I think Norwood was built in the late 1800s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in the building, Parker Hall, doesn't it have stained glass in it?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, but when we sit here and talk about it, okay, yeah. But Parker Hall has some beautiful stained glass at the top of some of the windows, and so just taking a minute to go and there's some details here that are just beautiful.
Yeah.
The sunflowers outside of Parker Hall are beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. There's just some really neat things on this campus to take time, and that's being that mindfulness, like you said. So what if it's a yucky day? In those cases, we just stop. We acknowledge that we're feeling that way, and then we reframe it. I think today, if today was a cold and blistery wet day, we have to be grateful for that. And then if we've got a decent parking spot, and I don't have to walk so far to class, and I'm grateful for that. And I get a free cup of coffee and the Minor Oasis or free hot chocolate, that can warm you up. So, you're grateful for the warm clothes that you have on your back. And I'm grateful for the people that I can talk to and time that you can spend with those people. I think, the little things that we have to be thankful for and grateful for, and if you're struggling with some of those things, or maybe you need clothes because you don't have those things, the SDI house, they have a clothing closet, or if you're needing food, they have, the food pantry over there. There are resources on campus, here for people. If you don't have those things and you're struggling with those things, reach out to Student Wellbeing, because case management, they have, resources that you can hook into. So if those things you can't say, well, Tracy, Amber, I can't say I'm grateful for those things. There are resources on this campus that we can help you find ways to be thankful for those things. So if you're listening to this podcast and going, I can't connect with what you're saying, we want to help you connect with those things too. Yeah. So please reach out to us. At this end of this podcast, you're going to hear those ways to reach out to us. That's why we do these podcasts, is to help people to connect. We want you to be able to be grateful and thankful for those things. And that's why social services, is here in this world. There's lots of people who are hurting. We know that. And so it's hard to find the things that we can be grateful for, but
you're not alone.
You're not alone. Exactly right.
You have support.
Yes.
And we have lots of people on campus that can help get you connected to those things.
Absolutely.
The point of here is to focus on the positives and what's good about the day instead of focusing on the negatives. Now, that being said, we don't want to descend into toxic positivity.
Right.
That's not our goal. Bad things happen, and we're allowed to feel our feelings about them.
Yes.
We're allowed to feel sad. We're allowed to feel frustrated and even angry. And this isn't just about sweeping our feelings under the rug. It's about perspective and having perspective.
Sure.
And yes, I'm angry, but here is something that happened to me that was good as well. This gives us a space to be able to find a new way to tackle what the problem is and not just be stuck in all the bad things. And, I do that with my kids. When we go to bed at night, I ask them, what happened today that was not good, what happened that was frustrating. And then I ask them to tell me about something that happened today that was good. And then I have them end it with, what did you do today that was kind?
Right. That's good. That's good. I think it's important that we can speak to all of our feelings. We have to acknowledge that, because like you said, not everything is good. Bad things happen to good people. And I love your saying that you said, always remember your focus determines your reality.
Yep.
That's a great saying, because where you focus is going to determine your reality.
Yep.
Yeah, very good.
Well, thank you for joining us this week, Miners, and we will see you next week.
Take care. If you like this podcast, please remember to like and subscribe. To schedule an appointment or to reach out to us about future topics you would like to see, please email us at wellbeing@mst.edu. You can also reach us by phone at 573-341-4211. We are located at 204 Norwood Hall.
I accept the challenge.
Get out there and do your best!
Hey, go easy on yourself. Come on now.
Now you're talking!
For more mental health and well-being content, please follow us on Facebook at Missouri S&T Wellbeing and on Instagram at S&T Wellbeing.
But most importantly,
never give up.